Hello, everyone. Right. Well, good morning and welcome to episode 25 of Mortgage News Live, coming to you from an autumnal Hertfordshire. Yes, we are now a quarter of a century old. So thank you for continuing to join us. And thanks, as always, to our sponsors, MPowered. We have another well above average show lined up this morning where we'll be discussing the market generally and looking once more at the subject of Leeds. Not the football team, as in dirty Leeds. Lovely city, though. I did my economics and politics degree there, proudly at the Poly, not the uni. But I digress. Yes, not the city, but Leeds, or inquiries, like what us brokers live, thrive and survive on. But first, of course, what of the market then over the past couple of weeks? Well, the UK economy grew by 0.5% in the second quarter, according to official data published yesterday. And as also reported yesterday, net mortgage approvals for house purchases rose to the highest level since August 2022. We also saw the nationwide house price index published, where UK house prices increased by 0.7% in September after taking account of seasonal effects. This resulted in the annual rate of growth rising to 3.2% in September, the fastest pace since November 22. Average prices are only 2% below the all-time highs recorded in summer 2022. So a big raspberry to all those who said house prices would fall massively, who have now recalculated their predictions once again. No doubt they'll come up with something else. Lenders are still engaged in a bit of a rate war as they already cast their minds forward to building a pipeline for next year, and swap rates appear to have reached a level plateau for now. The next step is most definitely the budget, but more about that next time. But this is just a cacophony of caustic noise. Today is never about me, but about my deliciously delectable guests. And joining us are Ash Borland, mortgage business coach, Ash Borland Consulting. Hello, Ash.
Hello, Monty.
Gary Das, CEO of Active Mortgages. Hello, Gary.
Good morning, sir.
Sam Norris, the MD of Grand Union Finance.
Bonjour. How are we doing?
Hello. Bonjour. A bit of French there. Hello.
Boy, I've been as the other ones.
We might be joined a little bit later by Serena Smith from Mortgages with Serena. Now, this is a heavyweight professional panel of people. Yeah, well, maybe.
Heavy set in my case.
Heavy set. I've had the privilege to be on two of these people's podcasts before. So it's great to have you guys here. First off, it does seem that like after a bit of a summer sojourn, there's been a bit of a pickup. So what's the mood amongst your clients around the market now and for the rest of this year? Sam, let's go to you first.
I don't know if everyone felt the same. You know, we're always talking about the lull in August and then the massive pickup in September. I felt like it evened itself out a little bit this year because I think a lot of people are taking advantage of going on a few cheaper holidays in September. So the holidays didn't all just happen in August. They sort of spread along. So it helped August and it sort of pulled down September a bit, but over the two, evened itself out. And I think what you just said there, Monty, in terms of all of the cautiously optimistic figures, we seem to be in quite a nice position whereby there's nothing too bad and nothing too good happening, which actually as a business owner, I think is quite a nice position to be in with all the turmoil we've had over the last couple of years. So I'm quite happy, to be honest.
You look quite happy, actually.
I'm content.
That makes a change from mortgage brokers.
Or content, as we might discuss later.
Content, yeah. Gary, what about you?
Yeah, we're noticing it's picking up most definitely. We're quite lucky in the sense that we do a lot in the property investment space within my own brokerage. So we're seeing, there's lots of investors that, are still buying, still moving, still doing what they need to do in relation to building their own portfolios. We have seen a big increase in below market value deals.
Right.
That's something we're doing a lot of, bridging a lot of properties in relation to, those guys increasing. Residential, as it's always been. I think really is probably the summary off of the back of that. But a lot of my clients in the coaching and training sort of side, they've had massive growth realistically over the last few months and over the last 12 months.
Ash, is that the same with you?
Yeah,
what
similar.
have your people seen?
Yeah, so I've had a similar kind of thing to both of you guys. What I have noticed is the smaller kind of one-man band firms, if they're really proactive, they've had a really great summer and kind of September. But I have noticed that the larger firms, so the ones that have more overheads, are starting to feel the pinch a little bit coming into the end of the year. There's a bit more cash flow issues. Pipelines are not maybe as big as they wanted because of the business. We're 3 months, 4 months behind. So I've definitely noticed that. I don't know if anyone else has kind of seen that. Maybe Gary, from your coaching side of things, I've definitely seen a massive shift from the smaller, more nimble firms versus the larger organizations. There is a kind of a cash flow issue coming over the horizon.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? How are you advising them to deal with that?
It's a tough one to really do, isn't it? It's kind of how do you fix a problem that you steer in the Titanic, isn't it? At some point, you got to fix the problem by should have done it 6 months ago. A lot of what I found with a lot of these firms is that they're maybe reluctant. Again, what we're probably going to talk about today, but reluctant to have maybe adopted lead generation strategies, not just social media, but I mean all types of lead generation. Some of them maybe are a bit too. This is Gary's ballpark, a little bit too reliant on social and haven't collected the data and controlled the narrative. So when people are away on holiday and not actually active, they're not actually still marketing to them. So I think it's maybe that, and also just bloated overheads. A lot of people are paying for things they probably shouldn't have, from my perspective.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. We'll come on to all that. Just a reminder for those watching, if you got it, and sorry I was late, by the way, that's because I'm a consummate professional and I tripped over my mic and unplugged everything. So anyway, if you've got any comments or questions, please do leave them in the chat and we will get to as many as possible. There's one thing before we get onto that, just want to ask. So MPowered have recently announced that 94% of their cases receive a decision in a day. How important is that? And what impact do you think that has on broker satisfaction and borrower confidence, Gary?
For me, I don't like it. To me, it makes no difference whatsoever.
I did say they might not like the answer to this question.
From an advisor perspective, it makes our life a hell of a lot easier. But is it a benefit to us when utilizing it with clients? No, because it makes us seem less valuable. And fundamentally, we are supposed to, I've always talked about when having a conversation with a client, my goal is to find the pain, stick the knife in and really twist it. And 9 times out of 10, it's not a pain for me because I've been doing the job 20 years. But from their perspective, it's a huge pain, which makes them need me, not just want me. So if I turn around and say, oh, yeah, we're going to get you a mortgage offer in a day, where's the value? What's the point in paying me the fee that we charge? I'd rather turn around and say, it's going to be a month and then maybe get it to them in a couple of weeks. So maybe Empower should reduce their service standards with regard to that, allow a little bit more time, take on more business and have more flexible criteria that would actually mean that they get more market share, but also no broker really, or no advisor, I hate the word broker, no advisor really cares about one-day offers.
I think it's interesting, isn't it, Sam, in terms of, for me, I'm quite, I like it to a point. But the problem with the whole process is the rest of it, isn't it? So actually you find if you get a mortgage offer in a day, you're then still waiting on everyone else. If there's a chain, you're waiting on everyone else. You've got to go through legals, and I'm not going to swear this week, but you've got to go through legals, and that whole process is so antiquated and broken that actually by the time you do get round to complete, you might have to go back and redo the offer anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, look, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? And as you've quite alluded to there's lots of different sections of this process that all need to match up and work together. Look, from my perspective, and maybe I'll take a slightly different viewpoint on it as Gary, even though we share a very similar clientele in terms of we work with investors and developers. For me, the quicker I can get from A to B, I like to think that with the content that we create, that we're showing our value pre that first consultation anyway. That if I can get them from A to B as quickly as possible, then it means that I can get them from A to B again as quickly as possible, and then from A to B again as quickly as possible. And suddenly they've got the larger portfolio. They turn from a smaller client of mine to one of my best. And the quicker I can get them from there, from the big A to the big B, rather than lots of little A's to little B's, the better. So speed is important. We're always trying to be as efficient as we can in-house. Sometimes we're let down by the lenders in that regard, or surveyors or solicitors. But we try and do our job to the best of our ability to get from A to B, get our clients to where they need to get to, and then we can go again, and we can go again, and we can go again. We get a lot of repeat business that way. So from a brokerage, I totally get what Gary's saying, and I in fairness, wholeheartedly agree. Taking a slightly different viewpoint, there are pros and cons, and potentially that's one of the pros, is that we can do repeat business with our clients a little bit quicker. Having said that, MPowered, as we know, with that statistic, put themselves in a very, very different part of the market to pretty much the rest of the market. So we're not there until a large proportion of the market are hitting those kind of figures. In reality, it's a bit of a drop in the ocean, I'd probably say.
So, Ash, I'm going to throw this in. So this actually, and I didn't think it did when I first looked at the question, this actually goes to the heart of the matter of how we as brokers show our value and market ourselves to the public. Because to take a little different view to Gary is actually I'm promoting my value and my advice and all the work I do before I submit a case. So the fact that I've got all that information and I've got that knowledge and I've packaged it and put them with the right lender day one enables me to get that 24-hour offer. Whereas if they didn't use me and just tried to do it themselves, they'd never get to that place. So is it just that we're marketing ourselves wrongly, and actually the fact that we can get an offer out in 24 hours doesn't actually show they don't need us? It actually shows the reverse, because we as brokers are so good at packaging and getting everything together that we can get it so quickly.
Yeah, I think it's about listening to all of you. There's really interesting points. I think it's all about with value. Value is, value is only in the eye of the other person. Price is only issue in the absence of value. It's all these things you have to look at. So the thing that I always look at that is it's a show. The problem that most brokers I speak to and advisors, and I'm just using the word broker because it's SEO optimized, but I'm going to carry on that. But it is most people I speak to, they don't realize that the job is not doing the mortgage. The job is kind of the fanfare of building up whatever it is the client wants, showing that value, talking them through, hand holding. And so I think if you can slow that part of it down, then once they actually go to actually apply, everything after that can be fast. I think that is okay. But I do think you have to slow down from the initial discovery call and research and like presenting your value to not just, yeah, sure, give me the docs, I'll get you a mortgage. I think that's where we lose it. And I do think it is a marketing thing, that, and your marketing can pre-build that, but then the first initial conversation needs to very much be about the client, their wants, their needs, and not about what you actually do, and more about them. Something I would say as well, which is really interesting listening to the two of you, is that Sam and Gary, as advisors, we'll use that word, is that their focus is very much actually on investment. I know some of the clients Gary deals with, some very high net worth investment clients. Speed is everything to them. Whereas if you are predominantly dealing with resi, it's emotion. There's no emotion in the investment side of things apart from just annoyed that you didn't get it done fast enough. Whereas whereas in the resi side of things, there's a whole different ballgame. So I can imagine something like this in the investment space, that side of things, as in like buy to let and stuff like that, hugely valuable if again positioned correctly. but I think it's all about how you package it and position it as the advisor.
Yeah. It's a really interesting discussion. And Gary, about 10, 15 years ago when we started Corico, we started going, right, we're never going to use mortgage broker. We're advisors. And then we had a massive discussion, by the way, is it advisor, ER, or advisor, OR?
Oh, it's an
anyway, we went down that rabbit hole. But again, your point on SEO is right. People don't search for mortgage advisor, they search mortgage broker. So we very quickly was sort of like, we tried, but actually all the SEO is around mortgage broker. And I agree with you. The broker is such a antiquated name now.
It's also not what you do. You don't actually do it. But I would say it's very similar to, and on that, it's a similar thing, which is my pet hate. I'm going to go into rant here already, but only a little one. Is when you go on LinkedIn.
It took longer than I thought, to be fair.
Oh yeah, we're only like 16 minutes in. Yeah, it's when you go on LinkedIn and people have got director, CEO, and that's their title, and I'm like, don't do that, because no one's searching director. They're searching for mortgage advisor. If you want leads through your social, you have to word it what the customer's searching, not your ego title. And so many people, I get it on mine all the time. I don't know. That's just the whole thing. It's very similar to what you say. Titles and words matter in this world now.
Yeah,
as to what people are looking for.
So let's go into that then. Obviously brokers thrive on leads. It seems to be it's an ever endless pursuit of them, isn't it? Many are lucky and have a good client bank. They work well. Others are starting out and fully trying to grasp what they need to do. If I was to ask you what rule 101 is when addressing the leads question and how to get them, what would be the first thing that you'd advise someone to do, Gary?
What, from a startup position?
Yeah, if
I'm
I'm a broker, either I've just gone out on my own or
got it.
Yeah.
Find every email account that you possibly have. Find every phone number in your phone book. Ring every single person. Send every single person that you know an email saying that you've gone out on your own and that you're now working in the mortgage industry. And if you've got a mortgage coming up, that I'd love to review it for you to see if we can save you some money. I would equally tell every single person, from the Tesco's checkout lady, I'd no longer get home delivery. I would go and tell everybody in the gym, and I would make sure, as I did in 2016 when I started all over again, don't give out business cards. They're an absolute waste of time. Choose one social media channel, post content on every single day, and get every single person that you meet onto that social media channel.
There you go. That's pretty direct.
Also, like Monty didn't do the buzzer. Gary mentioned the word gym. That
was fine. I gave context. It was purely in context.
Coffee shop.
Wasn't saying I can bench 180 and stuff like that. That makes me feel inadequate.
I did write gym on a big word here, thinking, oh, he's got away with it.
No. And I'm sorry if I insulted you on 180. I haven't got a clue about what or anything. I didn't get a body like this by being active in the gym. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I mirror what Gary says. When you first posed that question, the first thing that came into my head is shout the loudest. It's not who's the best, it's who's the best known. If you can be the best and the best known, then you're winning, which is what I aim to do. But we know from looking from brokers looking at lenders, the old adage, outside out of mind. BDMs from lenders come to us because they want to be in the forefront of our mind, particularly when we're looking at like the bridging space and that kind of stuff. They want to be in our thoughts, so you've got to be in their thoughts. What Gary said is absolutely right. Social media is free. I hate it when I see people complain on social media. Oh, I mean, I do all the time. Instagram's not working properly. It's freaking free, man. Don't complain. Just pump as much content out on it as possible. Reach out to as many people. When I first started using Instagram, which is my sort of main platform, I was on Instagram probably 6 hours a day. In terms of not just posting, but DMing, commenting, looking at, it was a different game back then, but looking at hashtags and reaching out to people, sharing other people's content, giving my thoughts on that. I was going hell for leather. It was very Gary V-esque from a Twitter point of view. I followed that sort of model. And, there's there's no excuse for hard work. I got my first ever mortgage lead by sticking a load of letters in my old Barnet Press newspaper bag and walking around North London in the rain for 12 hours, posting letters through letterboxes. People don't do that anymore. They think, I'll get my first lead just like that. No way. Put the effort in and you'll reap the benefits. But it comes down to hard work. Unfortunately, there's no quick easy fix here, guys.
Ash.
Yeah, again, very similar. I would say to add on to what these guys are saying. I have this thing which is use what you've got, which is most people so Facebook is going to be the easiest place to generate leads of all of them. They're not always going to be great. TikTok's really, really simple, but they are trash. So just be careful with that. But they are not worth your time. It's a lot of trash. But on Facebook, that's probably, if you're starting out as a brand new, not brand new advisor, but trying to generate leads as an advisor on there, your personal account can be swapped to a creator account now. So Facebook allows you to swap it to effectively a business account. So it doesn't break any terms and conditions, and it should be okay with networks, most of them. Any network that isn't okay with it is probably not, you get a new network because they're not
Just
really.
leave.
Just leave. That is okay. It's completely fine. So the reason why we say those is, in regards to like those swapping those crosses, your personal account has everybody you went to school with, you worked with, anybody you know is on that account. And so use what you have. If there's 300 friends, 100 friends, 200, it doesn't really matter. Most of those people will need a mortgage or know someone who needs it. So exactly what Gary said and exactly what Sam was saying, post content every single day saying nothing else, no personal stuff, just mortgage for like a year. You'll bore them to death. They'll hate you forever until they need a mortgage. And once they need a mortgage, you're the only person they'll think of. And from there, that's a very easy win. It's completely free. But I think many people struggle where they want to set up this elusive kind of business Facebook account and then wonder why no one's following it, no one's liking it, because you're starting something from scratch. Use what you have. Get over yourself that people are going to get a bit annoyed, because they will. And then eventually they'll come to you. And I do think that it's that's always missed, and everybody always is so worried about it. Where am I going to post my football photos or the answer is stop posting them and just do video content about mortgages if you want to pay your bills.
Do you know when sorry, Gary, you go.
No, go on, mate.
I was going to say there's a little pro and con. You know when you're doing it right, but there is a con to it. And the pro is that you'll bump into people in the street and they'll go, "How's the mortgage market?" And then you've got to determine how deep you go into that question, because I'm sure all of us could sit there and talk for hours about what's going on with the economy, that kind of stuff. So you've got to pitch it right there. But it is also, the con of that is, that's all that anyone ever wants to bloody talk to you about is what's going on with the base rate. And I walk into my local restaurant and the guy that owns it is like, "Sam, what's going on with mortgage rates?" I'm like, "Oh, for God's sake, just serve me a steak, son. Come on."
Yeah, I got to a point where I used to lie about what I did because if ever I was in you go to a party or something, someone asks you what you do, you say mortgage broker. That's it. I know I'm just talking mortgages for the next hour, and just does my head in.
On that point, because I know Gary wants to jump in, but just to double on that point, every time that someone says mortgages are boring, that's where that's not true. Because both of you said you can't not be stopped. Everywhere you go, people want to ask you about it. It's not that they're boring, they're just not entertaining. And I think that's the thing. But everybody who's a broker, advisor, all three, we'll come more inclusive in this show, is that you can't not, if you're doing the job right, everyone's going to talk to you. So it's not boring. It's just not twerking on TikTok to, Taylor Swift.
You can do that as well if you want.
Gary, I'm sure I've seen you twerking on TikTok to Taylor Swift.
Just go and sign up to Ash's OnlyFans. You'll see it all.
I've been banned from that.
Yeah.
He's
some of the comments that Monty puts on there, honestly, right? And the requests,
fair, Ash.
The requests,
fair. The requests were also a bit dark, but anyway, that's another show entirely.
Well,
social media, Gary. In the old days, we had a phone book and an address book, and I think you and me are the only ones who remember that. I definitely remember it. And that was literally my first job. It was how'd you get leads? Oh, here's your phone book. Write out a list of all your friends, and start at A, and there you go. But now you've got social media, and in a sense, I do look at it and think that has made everything so much easier. But also now, how the hell do you get heard in a crowd? So, I'm on TikTok like all of us, and it's just mortgage broker. How do you get heard in that crowd? And has it become a bit too Wild Westy now?
I think there's been a big shift since I started it back in 2016. As someone recently called me the granddad of mortgage social media. So thanks for that.
If you're the granddad, what the hell does that make me?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I'm so going to use that for you forever now. That is my thing.
That makes me
writing
feel
that
really
down.
Go on.
But yeah, I think 2016, it wasn't so Wild Westy because there wasn't anyone really doing it. And then obviously I came along and Ash came along, and we thought it was a really good idea to teach other advisors how to do it. Ash left the industry and made his life a hell of a lot easier, whereas I'm still in the industry as well. So created a hell of a lot of competition. But I think the important thing, linking off the back of what Ash said earlier as well, is if you follow a lot of advisors, the algorithms and the way in which they work are going to show you a lot more advisor content.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's going to feel like a very crowded space, but in actual fact, it's not really. And the way the algorithms work is they're probably only going to show your content that you're smashing on social media every single day to somewhere between 3 and 10% of your audience. So in your mind, you feel like you're banging the drum about it all the time, but you're actually not, because only a small percentage of people are either online at the point where you post it, and the first hour is the most important. They're either seeing it for the first time and then you're reposting it again, because that's a key thing. I repost pretty much the same content that's done very well every 30 to 60 days because people either need to be reminded or they've never seen it before. So I think there's a lot of overthinking and worry around saturation. You were one of the first to do blogging in the industry, Monty, and you still continue to do it because it drives results. So social media is exactly the same. You've just got to realize as well that all four of us here right now can do exactly the same piece of content with exactly the same title, but we all look different. We all sound different. One of us can't grow a beard at the age of 43. We have different appeals, and that is going to work for the people that we want to attract. People by people, and some people, don't realize that Ash and I hate each other, and other people just think that I am the best thing since sliced bread, whereas other people think I'm a knob. So who cares? Just do what you do, and your people will find you.
He is.
Do you know what? To add on to that, and look at it in maybe a slightly different viewpoint, is a few years back, Novak Djokovic was like looking around and seeing that there was like the best tennis players that have ever walked the earth were all playing at the same time, and instead of going, well, I'll tell you what, they're doing it better than me, he went, no, I'm going to beat them all. And he became a better tennis player and maybe one of the best ever as a result of that. If I see a piece of Gary's content and it absolutely hits, I don't go, oh, for God's sake. I go, right, up my game. Got to do better. Got to improve. Got to make a difference. Got to change what I'm doing. And there's so many, younger, not in their 40s mortgage brokers that are now posting on social media that are doing slightly different things. They're on trends and they're doing all this other stuff. We have to up our game. It's a constant evolution. And that's actually what makes it exciting, I think, for me, is looking from one day to the next, right? What do we do? What do we do now? And taking inspiration from others, not seeing them as competition, seeing them as something that can help you be better than what you already are.
I had to go through that journey. So I started blogging like 2006 probably, and social media I started in 2011, 2012. February 2012, my first Twitter account, I think. And actually then seeing people come on, and I've always been passionate about helping people anyway, but then when you see other people come on, it's then like, oh my God, it's not just me anymore. I've got to, and you've got to use it to up your game. And I went through a period where I was so paranoid about everything else, and oh my God, they're going to displace me and they're going to displace me. But actually, it's all about working together and embracing it and taking the good things and improving on it and upping your own game all the time, isn't it? So just a couple of things. So this is quite interesting from Neil regarding networks. My network insists that every post which has a call to action, call me or email, etc., needs approval from financial promotions team before posting. Now, before anyone shakes their head, that is correct. So if and this is something that you do have to learn with social, is if you do have a call to action, it is a financial promotion. So every single network, and if you were a broker at Corico posting that, saying call me now, you would need approval and some warning. So it's about the actual posts that you do have to be more, which is why a lot of it we switch very much to educational posts rather than a call me, because actually if you got the post right, you don't need a call to action. The call to action is the post itself, isn't it, Ash?
Yeah, so I'm literally no, I completely agree with you. So my background before this, my father was in compliance for like years and years and years. So lucky me. And
is that why you gave up mortgage broker?
Yeah. And so first of all, with the warnings thing, like I think that so many advisors I speak to and kind of give me feedback is they're so reluctant to put those warning labels on, and actually they don't hinder you. They actually make you look more professional. There's a reason you have to have them. Yeah. So even if it's not a financial promotion, I would be putting those warning labels on the bottom of your videos. Like your home may be repossessed instantly means it's not a cowboy throwing stuff. We know this is somebody who actually knows what they're doing. So it's not a negative, it's a positive. But I do think, as you said, you shouldn't really be doing CTAs. Your CTA, if your content is good enough. I remember when I first started, when I was an advisor and I was making content, I actually was talking about other advisors who were doing very well. And my boss said to me at the time, he was like, that's really bad. You shouldn't be doing that. These are competitors. And I was like, he said they might go to him. And I was like, if they go to him, having watching lots of my videos, they were never going to use me in the first place. I think we sometimes misunderstand that the content is there to build the brand. It's not there to go buy my stuff. That is an ad. And every single ad, being landing page, Facebook ad, any of those things need to be signed off by financial promotions if you're in a network. And if you're DA, do your due diligence, which is like what Gary will do. Yeah. But I think that if you break the rules, it'll be on your head. You're going to get pulled for it. And I think that I think that you talk about the Wild West, and I'll stop this in a minute because I think what happened about a year and a half ago was everybody was doing everything wrong on social media. They were all running around on TikTok saying what they wanted, doing what they wanted. Yeah. And then I saw everybody, once they all got caught, go, and blame the networks. And it's like, no, you hold your hands up, do it right. That's my kind of take on it. I get really, it's a topic that triggers me. So I'll back off now and do what else. But yeah.
I agree. And Gary, I've got one here from Jamie. As a younger advisor just starting out, my ideal clients are first-time buyers. Am I better to focus on Instagram? Also, any guide as to what time is best to post?
Don't worry about the time to post. I think earlier the better is one of the key things, to be fair. If you want a US audience, then it's predicted that, somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock if you want to hit the US market as well as the UK market. But first-time buyers are going to be online during the day when they're going to be online. We can see results 8 o'clock in the morning, but you can equally see results at 6 o'clock in the evening. So I don't think time is ever a thing. The key thing is consistency, and every channel will work. If you're going to do Instagram to reach non-followers, you have to be doing reels and video. Whereas if you love writing, then just do LinkedIn consistently. I think more so than ever now, the Gary V method Sam mentioned earlier is to be on all channels everywhere at all times. Whereas when I look back on my journey of starting from scratch in social media in 2016, I only used Facebook. I was in Facebook groups. And everyone I met, I got onto my Facebook page, onto my Facebook profile at that point in time. So I would rather stick to one channel, be consistent, have one type of content that I can do really well at. And for me, I did written posts for 6 months. Then I started doing video, and then I went live when we used to go live in the November of 2016. And even now I try and focus on one singular channel because the algorithm is entirely different on every channel. You can't measure and master and manage 4 channels in the same way that you can measure, manager, and master one. So just go all in on one. And if that's Instagram and you're happy doing video, happy days. Also, make sure that you're, and I don't want to go too technical, but you're producing content that is equally for your followers as well. So a couple of times a week, you'll need to use something that's a bit more image-based, because that will typically engage the people that will follow you versus doing a reel, which will more likely get to people who are not following you.
Yeah, we find definitely things like TikTok, and I know what you said about TikTok, Ash, but TikTok and Instagram engages with a younger, more first-time buyer-y type audience. But Facebook leads tend to be the ones that come through more religiously. But yeah,
I think as well what Gary said is so true. The first thing he said was, don't worry about what time you're posting, because I think, to use maybe like a little bit of a sports analogy, a professional tweaks things to get themselves 1 or 2% better. A novice just learns how to kick the freaking ball. And that's what Jamie's got to do at the moment, is learn how to kick the ball. And for me, it's just quantity, and learn the quality over time. Don't put any sort of barriers in your way. Oh my God, I've got to post at 6 p.m. every single day. Don't forget about that. Just post every single day and figure that out. Figure out the methodology of creating that content. See what works, see what doesn't. Double down on the stuff that does. Stop the stuff that doesn't, and move on from there. And over time, get better and do those little things. Even now, after God knows how many years of posting pretty much every single day, the time I post is probably the least important part of what I'm posting.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, actually. And for me, it's all about that authenticity, isn't it? And accepting that we're all different. So Ash is sitting in his futuristic bunker at the bottom of his garden and produces this incredible content, which how much I love your content. It's really, really good. Gary is you've done things very differently in a very different way. You've been prolific in your content. You mix up things like health, and I'm not going to say the gym, but I am going to say the gym and all that. But that's you, and that I'd look like a cock doing that kind of stuff. Me and my leotard.
Bring your music in, though.
Bench pressing. I bring music in. I bring my way, and everyone's got. It's all about people finding their own authentic self, and don't try and be Gary. Don't try and be Ash. Don't try and be me. Don't try and be anyone else. Be yourself, and that's the most important thing that I think I've learned. Every time you feel like you're trying to be like someone else, it doesn't work. Fail fast and fail often, and you'll realize what actually works for you and what gets that level of engagement.
You also want what you don't have. Like you saying all the things there. Like when you open this show, you're a writer. You say that you're Gary saying music, but you're also a writer, and so you can tell by your intro.
I've got a face for radio. Yeah.
No, but you can tell by your intro. Writing, I was like reading this, thinking. I was listening to you say it, thinking like, this is amazing. And I know this is not AI. This is something you will have written. So it's that kind AI, of like, the way it's written, it's very poetic. And that's where I listen to that and I'm like, oh, now I feel inadequate. So we all have those things. You always want what you don't have. And I think, as you say, you just have to kind of go with what you do have. And then you'll find that, you say Gary's incredibly good at scaling things. I'm not. It's Sam, you're very flattering to me at the beginning. So no, it's like, you've all done really good things. And I think that is when you're starting out, it's just kind of finding what that is. And then once you know your thing, just hammering it down until it's you're the only thing people remember you for.
But that's the thing that you've just said there, Ash. We all know our thing and we've all focused on our thing and we've done our thing consistently. So it's not listening to everybody else. It's choosing the path that is best for you and staying consistent with it. And immediately the image that comes into my head is the one of the two people that are digging for gold, and you've got one that stopped halfway and you've got one that's literally, inches away from it. Got one more hack of the thing. It's that old analogy. We've just stayed in our lane and stayed in our lane for long enough.
It's so
longer than people realize.
It's so easy to deviate from that lane as well. Sometimes I'm sure we've all been
shiny
guilty.
penny.
Yeah, you suddenly want to be the online guru type thing, and there's been times where I've posted something and it's done really well, and like it's a reel and it's got like more views than I've ever had before or whatever, and it's to do with something a little bit different, it's mindset or whatever, and it's about constantly remembering that until you are literally the best, unless you've reached the pinnacle. I've been reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's book recently about his different stages of life. He became the best bodybuilder in the world, and then he wanted to become the best leading man in the world after that. We have to, until you become the best at what you're doing, try not to deviate, because all you're going to do is dilute what you're doing. And if you're not already absolutely killing it, then you're going to make that so much more difficult for you to be able to achieve, the level of greatness that you want to achieve. So Gary's absolutely spot on. It's staying in your lane the longest amount of time. It's the old tortoise and the hare scenario, isn't it? Just staying, plodding along, doing it day in, day out, doing the hard graft, doing the boring stuff. It's not glamorous. People think it is glamorous sitting and doing all this social media stuff. Actually, a lot of the time it's editing videos and watching yourself, burp by accident halfway through something that you're saying and having to cut that out. It's not fun. It's not nice. So it's hard work.
Yeah. So marketing is all about managing budgets. And how do you advise people what they should spend their hard-earned money on where marketing is concerned? I know there's a lot of free stuff, but is things like buying leads? I get that question a lot. Is it worth buying leads? No.
You're very well versed in that, Gary. That's your kind of point, isn't it? The whole,
because you went through a stage, Gary, didn't you, where you did buy leads?
That was my whole 10 years. Whole first 10 years of my business. So I started my business in November 2006. November 2005. After working for a brokerage that was built off of the back of buying data for bad credit and also Money Supermarket when PAA leads were around.
Yeah.
And my whole first 10 years, I said to my dad, can I borrow $2,500? Because I know how to get leads. I want to go self-employed. And for 10 years, I did no marketing, did no emails, do nothing that I talk about and preach now. And I paid, at my peak in 2015 when I hated the business, $20,000 a month on low quality life insurance leads.
Wow.
Would jump ship for the saving of £1 12 months later when another company phoned them up who bought that data 12 months ago, and it was just horrible. Hated it. So the challenge that you have, I think, is really important to tell people now more so than ever. I've looked at the data and I've spoken to multiple people in different industries, and I'd be interested to hear if you guys are seeing it in your brokerage, but I've seen it across multiple industries. Out of 100 leads that you get, especially if you're buying, 50% are never going to buy from you ever. If you're buying leads, 50% will probably never even answer the phone. Out of the remaining 50 that you've got left, probably 85% of them will buy from you, but in the next 90 days to 2 years. Of that remaining 15% out of the 50, they're going to buy from you in the next 90 days. So to do the maths, out of 100, 50 aren't going to buy. 85%, which is 42 to 43 leads, will buy from you in the next 90 days to 2 years. And 7 to 8 will buy from you in the next 90 days. So if you're going to spend money on buying leads, and if you do this on the spreadsheet, I've done it with my clients, if you're going to pay 50, 75, £100 per lead, you're going to get 7 or 8 of them that are going to convert in the next 90 days. Well, you've got to consistently be buying leads for at least 12 months to see a proper ROI, and you've got to have all the systems and processes and nurture in the back end to keep going back to the 92 or the other 42 to 43 that might buy from you. So that's the big challenge with the buying leads. You need to have a stack of cash up front. You need to make sure that you're getting fees to cover your return on ad spend. and you need to really just be focused on going all in on it. But it's a mug's game, if I'm honest. Better off putting the money into your own marketing.
So Ash, Sam, what about for you guys? Where have you spent money that's worked, or where would you spend some money? There any tech platforms or things like that help?
I suppose maybe this is going off on a minor tangent, but actually I think the biggest expense in marketing for me that's worked, where I've got the biggest return on my investment, it's taken a bit longer, is actually an investment of my time. It's not an investment of my money. Because now I've been consistently going back a little bit over what we said previously, but I've been consistently doing, and my team now, I'm training my team to do the same as what I've been doing in terms of social media content, all that kind of stuff. It is free. It takes a lot of time, but what happens is the conversion rates that Gary was just talking about. What Gary just said is actually higher than the market average. In terms of the conversion rates, what Gary's talking about there is higher.
Yeah, I thought that was quite good.
Which just goes to show that Gary's very good at what he does, and has a very good setup. The way that I look at it is slightly different, insofar as actually the vast majority of people that I speak to, and I still speak to pretty much every new inquiry that comes through the gates at Grand Union Finance. Most of them become a client at some point. And do you know why? Because they've already decided that they wanted to be before they even picked up the phone to me, because they've watched 950 hours of me yapping on about how rental calculators work. And so they've decided, right, this person is my kind of person. He doesn't wear a suit and tie like some other brokers do, and I think I resonate with that a little bit more. He seems to understand his market. He's talked about a few case studies. He's also shared some of his clients' content, so I can see that he's working with some big players. I've now made that decision, and to a certain extent, I could probably tell them whatever figure I wanted in terms of a fee, and a lot of them would pay. So, we've got two people here in terms of Ash and Gary that can go into a lot of detail about how you can do conversions on paying for certain things and where the best place to put your money would be. Where my specialism is actually investing time and finding the time during the day to invest into doing this kind of stuff over a longer period of time, because I can't remember what the terminology. It's about the know, like, and trust. It's the 7 hours or the 7 touch points, whatever it is. Get to that as quickly as you possibly can. And actually, on those discovery calls, those consultations, you're not selling anymore. All you're doing is having a discussion with somebody that's already decided that they want you to be their broker. And if you can get to that point, you have won. Mic drop.
Well, I don't know what to say after that. It's a mic drop moment. Go on, Ash.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, yes, if where would I spend money, apart from everything you guys have said? It depends, again, depending on your quote niche that you want to try and target. But if you're somebody who's like, I want to be the local kind of hero, the person that everybody goes to locally, I actually think that offline marketing is super slept on. And, sponsoring teams, sponsoring fates, even leaflet dropping, like weird things like that, I think is actually way more effective from a local saturation point of view than you would think. I'd probably do that and then run a very basic Facebook location kind of specific ad that just targets people within a specific kind of geographic area. That's not very expensive, and you'd see a lot of brand awareness from that. I think that where it starts to get dangerous, and I see, and this is very much Gary's wheelhouse in regards to like ads. He knows a lot more about ads than I do, but it starts to get dangerous when you're trying to be really technical and like a mad scientist trying to convert people in but if you're just trying to do brand awareness, it's actually relatively cheap. If you keep it local. If you go hyper niche into other things, it's a little bit more difficult. But I would say don't sleep on the offline stuff, because it's so much, like even little things like I see it. When you go to the petrol station, they got the little thing on there. Like you can call these places up and get your brands on the petrol pumps, on the things, and they're really cheap because no one wants to do it anymore. But I go to the same one every single day, and every single week I go fill my car up, and I'd be like, pick it up, and there's nothing on it. But if your brand all of a sudden was like nothing on it, and then it's like, oh, mortgage. And I've seen it locally where the painter and decorator, who I've recommended him many, many times, I don't even know who he is. But I've seen him so many times that I'm like, his brand is everywhere offline, that I'm like, Jason Kirby, go to Jason Kirby. I've never given Jason Kirby any money, but it's locally, he's just everywhere in the physical world. And I think we forget sometimes that we do actually live in a physical world as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. absolutely. And so some of the more traditional marketing we've done, especially the local stuff, local sponsorship, grassroots sports teams, that type of stuff does work as well. Well, I'm only halfway through all the questions I had, but we might have to come back. Because I think we're out of time. I'm afraid it's gone really quickly, 50 minutes. So thank you very much, all of you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Ash. Thanks, Gary. I've got a lot out of that, and maybe we'll have you back to do part 2 of all of this in due course.
I'll be up for that,
as long as you don't put your fees up. So we have started shouting out a Star Broker of the Week at the end of each webinar. So please tag MPowered on socials when you've seen a broker go above and beyond. You can nominate a Star Broker on the MPowered website. The Star Broker of the Week today is Joanna Connolly at the Mortgage Mum. Hello, Joanna. Nominated by Mara Oliveira. I would like to shout out to my dear colleague Joanna Connolly, who has just been shortlisted for a Mortgage Introducer Award, Rising Star Broker. She's so competent and very caring with all her cases. Congratulations, Joanna. And also, if you are looking at, getting leads and getting known in the press, then obviously where this all started is via news page, and that is an excellent tool to get get yourself in the local paper or the national press. So do check out news page. Remember, we are bi-weekly now, so we're not here next week, but back the week after with another amazing show. And to answer someone's question, if you have missed this, you can listen to all of these on Spotify. If you have enjoyed this, I've been Andrew Montlake. If you haven't enjoyed it, then I have been Robert Jenrick or Eric Ten Hag. You can take your pick. Until next time, have a great week.